Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending upon where you are. Jim Howard here in Fort Worth, Texas. Today's date, it's Thursday, July 30th of 2020, and it is 8:30 a.m. in the morning. I'm running mint cinnamon, Linux. I have formatted my computer, and so on my desktop all I have, I'm not dual boot now. It's just strictly Linux. I like this version of and I've spent more time. I've looked at I've tried a whole bunch of different versions of Linux, Ubuntu versions of Linux, and mainly the main versions of Linux, or Ubuntu. I, I spent a lot of time over the years messing with it, playing around with it, and the other versions that are off of it, spent less time with those. But I've spent a couple of days now straight with this variation of Ubuntu. I tried Ubuntu Studio. I've tried a bunch of versions of Linux, and I always go back to Windows. I think the last time I really did this, I did actually go maybe a week or so, I'm not sure, and then went back to Windows. But anyway, let's take a look at the CNN front page. U.S. economy has the worst drop on record. Unemployment claims rise for second week in a row. Man, this entire, the election of Donald Trump and his various things that he has done and said, and then the coronavirus hitting us and being, a lot of us being confined to home, and it's been a strange time. I'm 79 years of age. I will be, let's see, I'll be 80 in March. And if I make it. My recommendation, do not get old. Another recommendation is, take care of yourself. If you're a young person, I know you think you're going to live forever, and you're not going to pay attention to anybody. You're young, but take care of your health. I was healthy until about 65 years of age. And, at that point, that's when my medical problems hit. Before that, I didn't have any medical. The only medical problem I had was an irregular heart rhythm, which would be caused by stress. And, it would give me chest pain. Actually, what it was my heart would be beating normally, the way, it would be beating like normal. Then what happened when I was under stress, my heart would be beating the normal way, Actually, there'd be a gap in there, but then what would happen was I'd get a little heartbeat, a little irregular one that wasn't a full one. And then my system thought, that was a regular rhythm, so it would skip the next heartbeat. And after I first had that happen, let's see, I got married at age 26. 6 years later, and we had 2 kids, and my wife left me and took the kids. Unfortunately, she came back. She came back with the kids. But that's when my irregular heart rhythm started. And and I guess what happens, if I understand correctly, that's sort of a common thing, this irregular heart rhythm for young people especially. And so after a week of it, and during that week I was thinking, okay, that bitch is going to be sorry. I'm going to die, and she'll feel bad, And I didn't go to the doctor or do anything. And finally, after a week, because I guess what it does is the muscle around your heart or whatever gets sore because of this irregular heart rhythm. So then after a week I thought, okay, well, I'm not dead yet, but this really hurts. So I went to the emergency room, and they did an EKG, and the doctor said, are you under any stress? And I said, well, my wife left me and took my kids. I don't know where they are right now. And so he prescribed Valium for me. And I took 1 or 2, whoop, and the pain and everything went away. And I guess the irregular heart rhythm went away. And I only took 1 or 2 pills, of the Valium. And my wife came back, brought the kids back. Everything was normal for 6 years. And then the wife decided that she wanted a divorce. And I said, okay. And then I had the irregular heart rhythm. I still had the same bottle of Valium. I took 1 or 2. The pain went away. The rhythm went away. Irregular rhythm. And now, of course, yes, the Valium had expired, but it still worked. Now I think if you want to get Valium, or what's the other one? Because I was having some, then I've been divorced for, I think, for like 40 years, I can't remember. I had some, before I had my pacemaker put in, I guess. Not right before, but before my pacemaker was put in, I had irregular heart rhythm. And I knew what it was, and went to a doctor, and I said, I'm having this heart, everything. And I said, of course, you're not supposed to say, I said, I know what works. I finally had thrown the Valium away. I still had it. I'd had it up till, I'd thrown it away. The expired. And I said, 1 or 2 Valium, and the pain goes away. No, we don't give Valium. It's the DEA and everybody had cracked down too much. Everybody wanted to take it, and I don't blame them. I guess it worked for a lot of different things, but they didn't want to give it to me anymore. They ended up putting later on a pacemaker in me. So anyway, you know, up until like I was 65 years of age, when about that point, someplace, 50, 65, 66, 67, I I was having chest pain. Yeah, really bad and everything, and I thought for sure this is the big one. I'm coming. And I just went to the doctor's office because I had changed insurance, and you had to see the new doctor. And but I told the doctor, I said, everything's fine except I am having chest pain, and I've had this irregular. He did an EKG, and then he came in. Well, he didn't do it, but somebody came in and did it, and then he came in. And he said, you've either had a heart attack or you're having one right now. So I'm sending you over to the emergency room. Here's the printout. When you get there, you tell them, what's going on. And now, he didn't ask, and I didn't say anything. But I didn't drive to the doctor's office. My son and grandson, we were all sharing an apartment in Miami. And my son had 2 cars. But the only time I drove one of the cars was, and he'd said that day, you want to take the car? And I said, no, I'll take the bus. Because he was really, if I had scratched his car or anything, he would have been upset. I mean, he would, so I just decided to take the bus, because the bus stopped right in front of the apartment that we lived in, right there. I took the bus, so the doctor didn't know that, and I didn't tell the doctor, so I left his office with my EKG, had to walk about a block and a half down the street. This is in Miami, summertime. And, waited for the bus, caught the bus, and I thought, well, okay, this isn't too bad. But I did think, okay, I may drop over dead, But it is not too bad. But then when I got to the hospital, which wasn't very far away, the bus stopped right in front of the hospital. And I forgot the way hospitals are. I spent 30 years working in hospital security, but I forgot the way hospitals are. And I thought, well, okay, I'm there. And then there was a massive walk, about a 2-block walk, just on the hospital property, just to get to the emergency room. But anyway, I got in there, and and they immediately took me back and started checking me, and then they put me in the hospital, and then they did the, let's see, did they do the, yeah, they did. That's when they did the not the angioplasty. That's where they clean out the arteries. Let's see. Well, anyway, heart cath. That's where they did the heart cath. And they went in and looked. They go in through the artery in your thigh, and they go up with the camera and everything and look around in your heart and whatever. And I figured the way I ate and that type of stuff, that the doctor had me sign a paper if they were clogged up, and what, right then they would do this. They were going to do the surgery, and they were prepared to do the surgery. And so I woke up, and doctor said, the heart valve's okay, there's no plaque in the arteries, and everything's okay. But anyway, when I went in the hospital, there was then 60, say 65 years of age, 66, whatever it was, 67. And they ask you the questions, you know, have you had any operations? Have you had any, no, you haven't had any operations, you're 60, let's say 65. You're 65, you haven't had any operations. I had my tonsils out, that doesn't count. You know, I haven't had anything. And it was the same thing several years later, you know, here in Dallas, when I went in and had the pacemaker. Have you ever had it? No, you know. But now I'm familiar with hospitals. This is the browser, of course, for what's Foxfire. By the way, I got my Civilization 6 back. I told you about that got it back working. Couldn't get it to work on Windows. Well, I had it working on Windows, but I changed the screen settings to when I had the 4K monitor, and then gave the 4K monitor to my son, and I couldn't get, then I went to it, I couldn't get, and I tried different settings. I couldn't emulate the 4K settings because I didn't have a 4K monitor, but I changed the settings for different screen sizes that I could, and tried changing it, and it, you know, but so anyway, I've got Civilization 6 back, so I can spend some time doing that. What? I guess, is there nothing else I want? I believe I have fixed the last video. You had a little bit of an echo, and I think I fixed it now. Here's what the problem was. Well, I even hate to mess with this. I mean, you know, come in and mess with it, but you have all these audio settings, and it was using ALSA was turned on, and this, you know, the mic auxiliary was turned on, and so anyway, the correct one is mic auxiliary. So the echoing should be taken care of. Oh, the stimulus package that the Democrats and Republicans are working on. Man, this time it's the Republicans are just so, you know, the Republicans are the number one thing that they are insisting on. The number one thing they want is that hospitals, businesses, doctors, and cannot be sued because of this virus, because somebody gets the virus, a customer gets the virus, or an employee works there and gets the virus, and they don't want anybody suing. And the Democrats are willing to, have been willing to, okay, they know how the Republicans are, but okay. But then the Republicans threw in a little change to that part of the thing that they insist on, that Mitch McConnell, head of the Republicans in the Senate, it says is like number one. This is what we have to have for sure. Deal breaker, this is what we have to have. Well, they threw in just in the last day or two, I guess, the Republicans threw in, you know, they think they're smart. I guess they are smart. They get their ways a lot, you know. They threw in another, just a little change to the bill, and that is that until 2024, and of course they would like to make it, you know, that nobody can sue. You can't sue a doctor, a hospital, or You can't sue anybody. You know, you can't sue any businesses. Already the Republicans for years across the United States, they've done it on a local level. They did it on a national level, and they've done it on the local level. You cannot sue a gun manufacturer. You cannot sue a gun store. You can't sue a gun range. Anything having to do with guns, no matter what happens, you can't sue them. You can sue, you know, a doctor. You can sue your local minister. You can sue everybody except for a gun manufacturer or a gun store that sells guns and that type of stuff. The Republicans have been successful in accomplishing that, and now they want to take this opportunity to, because they've always been against people being able to sue businesses, and that includes suing doctors, you know, in hospitals. And now they decided, okay, well, we'll just throw this in, you know, into the law that you can't sue basically anybody. A doctor could remove the wrong eye from you. You know, they're supposed to take out your left eye and they take out the right eye by mistake or vice versa. Republicans have been successful in a way, and what they've done is on a state level. That's one thing they've been smart about, is doing those things, you know, doing these things on a statewide basis. But anyway, they in a lot of states, the Republicans have said, okay, well, you can't sue for more than this amount of money. And people like myself and the vast majority of American citizens, you don't have, if something happens to you, say I were to go in the hospital, say I fell down and broke a leg or something, and say a leg had to be amputated, more likely diabetes or something, you know, but anyway, if I went into the hospital and the doctor carelessly removed the wrong leg, and I wanted to sue, what the Republicans have done is they've said, okay, you know, in the statute, you can only collect this amount of money, a certain amount of money. Well, poor people, the vast majority of Americans, you don't have enough money to hire, well, maybe you can hire a lawyer if somebody is, you know, a tree line, you have a dispute, you know, with a neighbor or whatever, but in order to, for medical type things, you know, you're going to have experts to, you're going to have to hire experts to, wow, look at that U.S. economy drop. And that costs money. You have to take depositions, all this costs money. And an individual, you can't do that yourself. You don't have enough money. But the way in the past it's worked is you can go to a lawyer, and the lawyer is going to look at if you have a good case, you know. Oh, well, you know, and the lawyer, for a percentage, he's willing to take your case, and he'll pay the money out to get the expert witnesses to fly in and whatever, and to take the depositions and to do whatever they do in order to. I've never sued anybody, and I've never been sued by anybody. But and then, you know, if you win your case, if the lawyer wins your case, he gets a nice chunk of money, and then you get, you know, whatever you get. But lawyers will not take the case unless they are very sure that they are, because that's a lot of money for them to spend in order to do the case and to assume, you know, the financial thing, just on the, not the chance, because they're not taking a chance, but just, you know, so the Republicans have been successful in that's one of the things they've done. But here, I guess the latest thing, last day or two, you know, the new stimulus program. Democrats and Republicans both apparently agree $1,200 checks, you know, coming again. Republicans aren't happy about it, but okay. The Republicans want some things, and Democrats are willing to give it. And Republicans aren't, because they're not willing to give very much. And the Democrats are willing, okay, well, okay. You know, the Democrats still want $600 a week for people who draw unemployment in their state, that they will get $600 in addition to whatever the state pays per week. And the Republicans positively don't want that, but Republicans are willing to go with, you know, reluctantly with like $200 a week. Problem is, I don't know what California and New York State pay. Probably the unemployment money. Well, it's going to be better than the South, better than Louisiana and Georgia and Alabama and what have you. I think one or two of the states, you know, the unemployment that you get per week is like $150 or $175 a week. Now with the $600 added by the government, from the federal government giving it during this last law, you know, passage that they passed, $600, that was okay added to it, you know. So you got, like, for that one state, $725 a week or something. That's, you know. But the Republicans didn't like that. They said people were making more money, you know, on unemployment, that, you know, and the people didn't want to work, and that's not true, you know. I mean, you know, sure, there may be 1 in 100, 1 in 1,000, I don't know what, you know. But, Republicans reluctantly, some of the Republicans are willing to go, okay, $200 a week. But there's a bunch of Republicans that are in the Senate that are like, you know. So, not sure what's going to happen. I'm retired on Social Security, and I have a small, very small monthly pension coming in from the hospital that I worked for 18 years. And I share an apartment with my ex-wife and my grown son. We all share the expenses. We're okay. So the $1,200 that I got, I was going to buy an iPad, but when it came down to it, I just paid some bills and picked up a couple items. I think one was this microphone, $150 or whatever. That was about it. But with this new $1,200, if it comes in, I will probably, because I talked about getting it for like 2 months before, I'll probably get a iPad and may do a lot, just see what I can do with just the iPad. But for right now, I'm running Linux. But tomorrow I may be running Windows. Now I think I, by formatting, I did that in the past, but by formatting I think I have just, okay, committed myself. Anyway, this may be one of these YouTube videos when you got more information than you really wanted. But anyway, thank you for watching. See if I can remember how to stop this thing here. There it is. there is OBS, which works in Linux fine, by the way. And I just press stop and let the magic begin.